Okay, so we are still on the Clifton Larson Allen debate.
Madam Chair, I have a motion.
Please.
I would move we approve Article number 8, and that Mike comes back to us next time with a price and timeline on an additional 25% increments up to 100%, so that we might make a more logical decision on how far we want to go beyond the 25%.
So to clarify, your motion is to approve as presented with the understanding that Mike can come back at the next meeting and give us an update if we wanted to increase that on how much that
At
costs.
25% increments, from 25%, which we would, this motion, to 50%, to 75%, to 100%, and the cost per increment and the timeline. And then we can make a logical decision from that point.
Okay, do you have a second?
Second.
Any comments by board members? Any public comment?
Yeah, I'm still thinking. I'm a little slow. No, that's all right. I'll just vote when that time comes.
Okay. Public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No. Okay, yes, to
Let the record show we're opposed to the motion. And we will move on with the presentation of preparation of the minutes. Really?
Good morning. I have a fairly short presentation about how our minutes are presented since we've had some issues come up the last few months. I'm going to start by saying that we do follow Robert's Rules of Order. So that is how I structure the minutes. And as Bill said this morning, I'm the one that takes the minutes, prepares them, and sends them out every month for you all to review. I do get back some comments or calls saying that the minutes are as they remembered or good, but I have not heard from anyone ever saying that they are incorrect, wrong, misprinted, or anything. Okay, the first slide. What are minutes? The minutes are to record the proceedings of the board. They are to record what is done, not what is said by its members. If we were to have verbatim minutes of our meetings, they would be 10 to 20 minutes long. That is why we do audio and video, so if anyone wants to know what was said, if it's not in the minutes, they are able to request copies of both. What is contained in the minutes, you have to put if it's a regular meeting or a special meeting, the name of the board, date, time of the meeting, your members that were present or absent, the name of guests, whether the minutes were approved, all main motions, except for motions that are withdrawn, who seconds, and the result of the vote. The next few slides are just examples that I do include everything. You can see that I put it's the EDC IDA board, it's a regular meeting, when it was, who was present, who was absent, and I put what time the meeting was called to order. The next slide shows that I do list who the guests are. We have who's visiting, if we have the county attorney present, any county commissioners, the press, and I also list the staff members. The next slide shows that I put that the agenda and minutes were approved. If anyone votes no, I do put that, and I do put the vote that the motion passed. All motions are listed with who motions and who seconds and whether it was passed unanimously or did not have the full board's vote. The examples I listed are from last month, and you can see who made the motion, who seconded it, and if it passed. You also contain in the minutes and the reports. You should put the name of the report, who is presenting it, and any action taken on the report. If it's in writing, I can attach it or tell where it may be found, and I summarize the oral reports briefly. Any other actions, assignments, and deadlines, resolutions, and recommendations can be briefly reported, and you put the motion and time of adjournment. The next one is for an example of reports. I use Travis as an example. I just put he was here to give his monthly update, a few items that he said, and then I put a copy of his report is available at our office. Another example is other actions, assignments, and deadlines, resolutions, recommendations can be briefly reported. This is an example of Bill's director's report. I have each title and just a brief statement of what he said about each project. The motion and time of adjournment. You can see that I put that the meeting was adjourned, who made the motion, and who seconded it. Okay, the next one is what is left out of the minutes. You should not include opinions or judgments, any criticism, accolades, unless it takes the form of a motion, and discussion. We should not personalize it by recording the views of any of the individuals. You should also leave out in the minutes any extended rehashing or reports. And all of my information was taken from Robert's Rules of Order that I said at the beginning that we would follow. That's my short report. Any questions?
Thank you, Christie.
I have a question.
Yes, Horst?
I don't see where the public is represented here. As I said earlier, when they stand up, give their name and express their concerns. Why doesn't it get into the minutes, which is not just for us, because we're here, but for the public, anybody in the public to know what's going on? Why are public statements not accounted for in minutes? Maybe it's my misunderstanding what minutes are. But even when I make statements to bring things forward as a member, that's not reflected in the minutes either. That's left out. So
Well,
should that be in there? Should my comments be in there?
Well, I think that what Christie just summarized at the end was that opinions or judgments, whether it's your opinion or the public's opinion, are not typically included.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Have you,
We're not taking public comment on this item. I appreciate that you would like to speak, but we will have time for public comment at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
have you compared yours to, say, the BOCCs or other people to see maybe if you are doing it basically the same way there, and everybody's kind of in sync, or?
I would say the DOCC is more detailed. I do not include as much detail.
Well, are they following the same Robert's Rules of Order? You don't know?
Any other comments from the board?
I would like to ask if you would like us to consider changing the format of the minutes, we can go into this further in ensuing meetings. It is difficult. Christie, has a tape. She spends hours going back listening to the tape. And if you don't believe it's difficult to take the debate and dialogue, even from a motion, think about Jim's motion a while ago. It has to be placed in the form of a motion, even though we hear it and we know the intent, but we're very careful to not change the intent. And sometimes when we print what is actually stated on the tape, it's incoherent. So, as we grow through this process, when you proffer a motion, try to make it a succinct, clear sentence. And some other things that we're learning, we are becoming more intuitive relative to auditor requests. So we know certain things that need to be in motions. Many times when we spend money, we should always have a motion that includes and to appropriate money either from a specific source or from a source to be decided at a later date. So try to, as you think forward moving, as we create motions, if you can be more specific, it makes our process easier. And then one last thing, and I'll hush. We're a representative democracy. We sit here, those of you that are on this board are appointed to represent the public. The public's right to be heard, to influence you in public meetings is an absolute part of what we are as a people, but it is your appointment that is important to the function of this board. Mike is elected. He chose to be a commissioner. His vote is because he represents us. And the people that sit out there should have every right to stand up and say whatever they want to say within certain time constraints relative to the structure of that particular board. But it doesn't mean they have to be chronicled in perpetuity, unless this board decides that's the way it wants to operate. Does that make sense to you?
Well, I've studied the Constitution. I've lived under Germany, a dictatorship, and I think that we're more under a dictatorship here. With, I can go into history. First, I'm going to provide it.
But you record every meeting,
Absolutely.
so you have it? You
Have
have
what?
it, you have all the stuff that you're asking.
No, I've got a list of things I'm going to ask for when the time is right.
What I'm saying to you is the things you ask for, if you want them included as a formal part of the meeting, you have to get the collective body to agree to
for
that.
instance, I'll give you for instance. Veronica Hurst came. She said everything is going good. The sales are going good, and the building is coming along well. Now, I asked during my period for details. What I asked never showed up in the meetings, and the minutes, sorry. So I'm in the process right now of documenting everything, that I can find to show that critical information is kept out of the meetings on purpose, willfully and
I
knowingly.
resent that remark.
Well,
That is not true.
when you look at,
That is not
you
true.
can resent it all you want, because Continuum Labs, you got 4.75 lines of text, nothing about what was said by the public. This is like having a weatherman going every day, whether it's shining or you got clouds over there that reports, oh, everything is sunny and fine, and see you next week.
All you have to do is compel a plurality of the members of this board to put those comments in those minutes, and they will be there.
We don't work for somebody that only puts a draft together. Draft minutes are sent out to everybody else, and how many members respond to it?
There are a few
There
that
aren't
respond.
any.
I have not heard one comment from you.
That's right, and
whether
I
you want
totally
something
agree.
in it
I
or
totally
not.
agree with you.
Well,
But the
then you
minutes should
contact
be.
one of us at the
Li-
office.
Listen, the minutes should be more representative to the subject and what goes on in here. That's all I'm going to say, and if it's not good enough, then just do what you got to do.
Okay, thank you, we're moving on. Director's report. Thank you, Chrissy.
The first item on the director's report is the culvert that couldn't be built. It is installed, it is in, the final road surface certainly has not been completed, but we will begin moving dirt from the retention pond hopefully in the next week to 10 days. All the contracts have let, the permits are issued, there is really nothing to stop any of that from continuing unless the board decides they want to stop it all. My intention is to have some cost savings in moving the dirt. It was originally scheduled to be moved on a truck and stored on site. Because we have the pragmatism and an ability to look at sites that we can move the dirt to in its final resting place in order to receive slabs for construction of buildings, I am requesting acknowledgement and approval by the board to move the dirt with some increased cost, probably in the form of a change order that will be verified with bids, from the retention pond storage area to the slab for the PF Man building and the slab for another building adjacent to the existing PF Man building. And at this time, I would like you to consider allowing us to do that.
Slab for the PF Man building?
No, a slab for the building adjacent to the PF Man, that site. I want to scrape it and put dirt and fill it and I also want to put the dirt for the Florican building. There's no sense in moving it twice, and the costs are not significant. I don't have them defined just yet, but we're talking about hauling them another couple, well, maybe 1,000 feet.
And we're on both sides of PF Man building.
Well, to the north where Florican is going, and then to the lot to the south. It's going to need to be filled anyway, so I'd like to fill it.
Could you give us the lot numbers?
I don't know.
Are we looking for a
Florican
motion?
is
We don't have a cost, but you're looking for a motion to do
I'm
this?
telling you that I'm going to get bids to
Oh, okay.
understand the increased
So the-
cost in the hauling, from stacking it in a place where we don't need it to
Right.
placing it where we do need it.
Right.
And you will have that, and I'm asking for permission
So
to
moved.
do that.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments from board members? Any public comment? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Retention pond.
I did include the retention pond in that discussion. The next item is PF Man. I'm proud to announce that PF Man is receiving equipment. It is very impressive equipment. I think it will have a really important, if not, it'll just be an important impact on this community as we move forth. We hope to have our next meeting at that building in January. That will be our objective. We will work towards that. If there is a problem, I feel like we'll certainly be there at the February meeting. I really don't have anything else to report to you other than they are moving along very nicely.
Wait a minute, I got a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, I see, I've been by there and I see that the meter's been installed for the power.
Yes.
Okay. Have they put up their own meter deposit and we got ours
Yes.
back?
They paid, I don't know whether we've gotten it back, but they paid.
$16,500. But is that going to show in our financial?
You asked this at the last meeting.
No, I
told
didn't.
you.
No, I didn't.
We
It's
have
about
had
3
this
days ago.
discussion. We will reconcile all of these accounts. The building is still in our control. We haven't converted it yet, but when we do, those costs that are attributable to PF Man will be assumed by PF Man.
Okay, and we'll get our meter deposit back.
Whatever they are, yes.
Because I know he said it in a meeting in here that he would do his own meter deposit. And well, this board is really concerned about money this afternoon, so I'm concerned about money too. I mean, they're concerned about money for an audit and things, so I'm concerned about us getting our
I
money
think they're
back.
valid concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. In response to my records request, and when I went to the office to inquire about a business plan, I was informed that there was no business plan. I also asked about the vetting plan, and I was informed there was no vetting plan. And that's on the record now. When I asked at C's direction to have a conversation with Mr. Oken, and when I in open meeting asked for who is his development team and where is he doing his research, and he stated right here in public in front of every member that I'm not going to tell you that. Now, I'll talk to Bill later. Were you able to find out who his development team is and where is it located at? Where is their research facility located at? In UK, which he implied over the phone on the Skype call, or in the USA?
Hold
If
on
I
just-
knew Number one, I would only know if they volunteered that information. I am really curious as to why you are insistent on knowing that. It is
Okay, I'll
a bit
explain.
invasive.
I'll
It is
explain.
not American.
I'll explain. I've done immense amount of research to try to figure out what experience Oken and Veronica Hurst has in manufacturing anything. I have not found that. Now, I was asked by Jim C. when I talked about his other LLCs. Okay? Why is that relevant? Well, you have to look at all the other LLCs to see if there's any experience that can be documented. And I haven't found any of them. In fact, I came, well, never mind that. He made a statement in respect to the Ferber case at the podium that he had a hardware and software that could solve that Ferber case. Then when everybody looked at him, you know, well, then he said, well, it's too complicated, I'll talk to Bill. Now, has he presented any evidence to you that he has software and hardware under his Cubic Development Company, one of the LLCs, to solve the server case?
Just one
I
moment,
remember
Bill,
that. I remember that conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And my take on it when he said that was his way of withdrawing from the conversation gracefully, because he realized that it wasn't the solution that he thought he was going to be able to proffer.
Okay.
I don't think he really had anything planned. I think that was his way to gracefully exit from the podium after having volunteered a solution. That's what I got.
Okay.
Which I agree
now,
with Doug.
I've
Let
been
me just
asking,
say-
excuse me, I've been asking to see the motor, which is a 30-pound motor. It's a Wankel motor, which a simple search in Google says it is not energy efficient, and it's a polluter.
Okay,
Now,
I'm
what
gonna
is-
stop you for just a second,
Okay.
because it seems we've had the same discussion at every meeting for the last 3 months. And last month, when you brought the same issues up, I stated to you that they are a tenant in a building that we built, that we own. So we have nothing invested in their business plan, their motor. It is not our business.
We got
We-
$2 million.
I need you
free
to understand
motor.
something.
No,
They didn't
$2
get any
million
money.
and
They got
30
no
months of free
money.
rent.
Zero money. We built a building, and we have performance criteria on the contract on the building we still own.
By
So I want to be
somebody that
very clear.
performs and
Just a
shows
moment,
no
please. I
credibility
showed
to
you the
perform.
respect to allow you to speak. Please do the same for me. I want to be clear that your statements represent your opinions alone and not the opinions of this board. I understand that you have made disparaging comments against this company, and I want to be very clear that you make those comments on your own and not as a representative of this board. We are in a contract with them to provide them a building, and that is it. And we are not investigating their motor or their business plan. So I want to be very clear about that. If there's other direction I need to be aware of from this board, we need to have that debate now, but moving forward, this needs to be a dead subject.
That sounds really interesting. It sounds like you're approving somebody that's not been vetted, shall not be vetted.
The deal
Shall
is
not-
done. The deal is done. I'm not approving anything. It is an open and shut case. That is put to bed. There's nothing else to discuss.
In other words, the concrete 24 inches with extra.
All done. All
All
done.
done.
We are not going to take time at every
Or
single
just
meeting, every
wasted
single
government
month.
money.
If I need other direction from the board members, please, by all means, help me clear this up. But I just think it's out of line
Let's have a
every
vote.
month
Madam Chair.
to have this discussion.
Let's have a vote on it, and I'll keep my mouth shut.
Madam
Yes,
Chair, I would like to make a movement that we make this a dead issue. We've heard it enough. I agree with you completely. I don't think it's pertinent to this board. I don't think it's useful. use of our time. I don't think it's a useful use of the public's time, and it's certainly not useful to disparage people we go into business with to try to help. So I would make a motion to make this a dead subject.
Well, let's add on to it that we do not need to vet this company. Then I'll go along with what he says.
We have a motion on the floor by Doug, seconded by Dottie.
Do we really need to make a motion for something like this?
We've discussed it every single month, so I would.
I agree that sometimes horses can beat this thing to death, but my God, you can't stop people from asking questions and talking. I mean,
I agree. I'm not saying we have a motion.
Every time.
What's so difficult about having the motion? That motor should be sitting right here. Okay, finally, let me ask this. What is he going to manufacture at the facility? What specifically?
Hair.
So we have a
Let me hear it.
motion and a second.
Yeah.
I would say that is part of the business plan, that we just had a motion and a second that is not his business plan, is not our business.
You didn't amend his.
So,
Who made the second?
Dottie. So we have a motion and a second. Any other comments by board members? Public comment? Please keep it to 3 minutes, Mr. Coleman.
Hey, here's what I think of it. If you're going to say that this PF Man project is nothing more than leasing a building, and you build a building, he wants to lease it, he signed the lease, that's the end of it. Why are you coming back here giving updates? We don't care if the equipment is arriving and it looks pretty good. We don't care to have Mr. Oken come in here and tell us he's got 18 robots sitting in a warehouse in Chicago that's going to be here any day. Why would we care if this building needed to be done last March because he was on a real tight timeline? He had to get out of Sebring or something like that. Why would we care about any of that stuff? Why would Veronica Hurst come over here and tell us about these wonderful sales and how they got all these contracts 2 years out in China and other countries, and we're so excited about this revolutionary proprietary rotary engine that can burn any type of fuel. It's only 35 pounds, and we're going to have contracts with NASA. I think it was Bentley, the car manufacturer, maybe, I don't know, Rolls-Royce. Why would you spend your time and waste your time if this project was nothing more than leasing that man a building? The only thing that I would have been concerned about with the PF Man project, if you were going to lease him a building that was being built as a spec for a Lightning Bay company, and then a gentleman comes in there, and I guess Lightning Bay went out of business or something, but another guy comes in and he needs a building, but the Lightning Bay building's not quite good enough because he's got some equipment he wants to put in there. He didn't need to tell us what the equipment was. We didn't need to see the trade show stuff about robots. We didn't need to hear Chairman Byrd tell us how impressed she was with those pictures of those robots and how all this stuff is going to happen, and they're going to put out one robot machine every 15 minutes out of this building, and they found a home, and they're so excited to be here. We don't need any Skype calls. Why wouldn't you just treat it like you got a building for lease, and you have Jim C. Realty represent that building or something. Have them go over to him, then he can rent it to him, and then he can manage that
No,
building.
because you'd filed an ethics charge against me if I did that.
Okay, Mr. Lambert's brother, how about that?
Final comments, Mr. Coleman.
So my point is this: if you want to kill this thing, kill it. I don't want to hear PF Man ever come up again. You let the guy go out there. I mean, I would definitely, if you're not going to kill it, figure out how much money you wasted over there on modifications that were unnecessary based upon BS. That's what I would find out. But if you want to not talk about it, just stop talking about it.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. Please proceed. To address a couple of your comments, we didn't spend any money on the modifications that were made. at his request to that building. Thank you very much. Please take your seat.
I didn't hear that.
We did not spend money on the modifications that were made to his building. He spent the money for the modifications he requested.
First I
Thank
heard
you.
that. I've never seen that in writing. How much?
Go ahead, Gene.
Mr. Coleman, the reason there were updates for all, called people in this area talk out of both sides of their mouth. If we didn't come to you with updates, you would complain. If we do come to you with updates, you complain. Some people you're not going to satisfy. So that's why we're going to put this one to rest. We beat the dead horse to death.
If the update is they brought in a cool looking equipment and we're very excited. I mean, that's not an update.
Thank you.
building's not even
We're
done
moving
yet.
on. Thank you. Spec building site development.
Okay, on the spec building site development, I do have a contract for Hunter Engineering in the package. It is for $11,000. It will precisely put a building on a site for us, so we're not putting dirt in the wrong place, and I would like you to allow us to approve this site development plan so that we don't further waste money.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
well, I'm trying to remember back when we first discussed this, and it seemed like to me that they were talking about 100,000 square foot building.
No, we've already gotten floor can going. That's
Oh, I thought
done.
this was floor can.
This is the other lot, so that we can put the dirt exactly where it is. We need a plan to place it. We can't just go out there and throw it where we want to.
Yeah, I know, but this is only 22,000 square feet. Are they, this is not the same building?
No, this
We're
is
gonna
the
build a
other
different
lot.
building?
This is the other lot that it's the last lot.
I understand that, but if, what I'm saying is, is Florican gonna eventually move on that site when we build a building? That's different. Okay, is it gonna be more than 22,000 square feet?
Yes, this is a different lot. This is the other dirt I was talking about. when we
Okay, so
moved.
we're not gonna build one building for them, we're gonna build 2 or 3 buildings.
No, we're building one building for Florican for 80,000 square feet, and we're gonna move dirt from the retention to that. This is the other lot in the park that I told you about.
Oh, okay.
And this is the contract
Okay.
to place a building on that lot
Okay.
and put dirt where it most likely
I
needs
just
to be.
didn't want us to build a building smaller than what they need, that's why I'm asking.
No, this is a separate, this
This is totally separate.
is separate, yes.
Well, you're keeping me out of the loop.
Sorry.
Again?
Sorry.
All right, okay, I'm with the program then. Okay, I just didn't want us to build a 22,000 square foot building and they come over and say, hey, we need 80,000. Okay, all right.
If we can back up for just a moment, our staff has informed me that we didn't actually vote on the last motion, so I apologize. I am doing my best to keep up with what's going on. So we have a motion on the table and a second on the PF man issue, and we need to vote on that now that we've heard public comment.
Okay, a positive vote means we're gonna not let anybody talk about PF man anymore. Is that what it is?
Doug, would you like to clarify your motion?
Because I'm not for that.
I think historical issues with PF-man need to be put away. We need to talk about them in context of the business we have with them, which is leasing the building. And I like director's updates. I like to know when new
Well,
fancy equipment
absolutely,
shows
I do
up.
too. I do too. But I'm not for telling somebody they can't talk, especially a board member, about anything.
Well, I think we have to be careful, though, that what we discuss is our business with the companies that we invite into our community, and that we're not delving off into other areas that is not.
I agree with you, but still, we have a constitution to live by, and I just,
So,
I don't like that.
so we have, I'm sorry.
Call for question, let's vote.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No,
No, yes, whatever. Yeah, I'm opposed.
Thank you, motion carries. Okay, so we will resume our discussion on the site spec building site development.
John Snyder is here if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'd like approval to pay the $11,000 for the site development for lot 13.
Is he with Hunter?
Yes.
Any further discussion from the board members? Do we have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, we'll move on with the Continuum Labs report. Do you need a few minutes to set up?
Just about 60 seconds.
While Travis is setting up, we will be taking out the amendment after the discussion on Continuum Labs. So if everyone would take a moment in the meantime to review the amendment that was part of your packet or handed out prior to the meeting. And I believe that Bill clarified at the beginning of the meeting that the amendment was the formal document that needs to be approved based on prior motions that were made at meetings.